Y'all, I'm offended that I only got 3 comments on yesterday's video. Not really. But I was surprised there weren't more comments because that video was a one of a kind. Offense. We all have been offended at one time or another. We almost always immediately react and deal with the situation, like in a negative way. Instincts kick in, and before we know it, the situation begins to blow out of control. We've lost all sense of reason and calm. Matthew 15. Then the disciples came to him and asked, "Do you realize you offended the Pharisees by what you just said?" Jesus replied, "Every plant not planted by my heavenly Father will be uprooted, so ignore them. They're blind guides leading the blind, and if one blind person guides another, they're both going to fall into a ditch." It's been said that offense is the spiritual seed, and there are 4 ways those seeds get sown into us. Number 1, what others have said to us. All some people ever hear in their lives are cutting and abrasive words. Number 2, what others did not say to us. You can be offended because you don't feel appreciated. Number 3, what others did to us. Selfish actions and humiliating experiences can cause the seed of offense to germinate in our heart. And number 4, what people didn't do for us, a favor or assistance that we needed. The Pharisees are offended because of what Jesus said to them. Jesus is an extremely sensitive individual, but in this instance, kind of rubs salt in their proverbial wound, suggesting that what one person does can cause another to blindly follow without taking the time to think about the consequences of what they're doing. The Pharisees were offended because not only did this teaching go against their legalistic rules, but Jesus was also suggesting publicly that they were the problem. This is not the only time Jesus doesn't pull his punch. There are times when the blunt nature of his words give us pause for thought and perhaps ask ourselves, why did he approach this situation this way? Being blunt, speaking frankly, not beating around the bush, speaking plainly, whatever phrase you prefer, they all mean the same thing. They cut through the social fluff and get straight to the point, even when it creates tension in the room. Offense. If there is anyone in this chapter who had a reason to be offended, it was the Gentile woman that Jesus calls a dog. Imagine if you approached Jesus to ask him to help you with what you're going through today, and he said, "You wimpy little pup, I have more important things to do than to listen to you whine." I suspect deep offense would set in and you would probably storm off in disgust. But not this woman. Instead, she thought about his words and replied, "Yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table." This woman wasn't offended. She wasn't hurt by what had just been said, and she remained focused on what she needed. Her thoughts weren't about nursing a bruised ego or feeding hurt by Christ's blunt dismissal. Her faith told her she needed Jesus' help. Her daughter needed his healing, and nothing was going to get in the way of this happening. In deep respect for the woman, Jesus heals her daughter because he is so moved by her absolute faith in him, which is even more remarkable when you consider she's not a Hebrew, but a Gentile. The Pharisees immediately saw the insult, took it to heart, and were offended by the fact that they were challenged. This Gentile woman considered the situation and entered into a genuine conversation with Jesus. Offense. Are we like the Pharisees, being offended by God is our go-to move? Or like the Gentile woman, who takes the time to talk to Jesus? Living deep in the heart of Texas, Southern hospitality oftentimes dictates that you lie to someone's face rather than offend them. Jesus is not from Texas. We know that Jesus was without sin. So if his words offend us, then it's time to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask, why am I offended? What aspect of my life is Jesus trying to speak into? And do I need to give some serious attention? Go talk to Jesus. I'll see you tomorrow. Now think about throwing me a scrap in the comments.